be a sponge, and then bring the juice.
By focusing on your improvement, by focusing on your progress, and eliminating any fixed mindset that you may have and acts of perfectionism, then you encourage your own mastery.
On some level, we do what we want to do 24 hours a day. Now, sometimes it may not seem like that, but if I'm choosing to work instead of sleep, what I'm actually saying is keeping my job is more important than sleeping.
I'm tired of this. I'm tired of getting beat. What can I do to get over this hump? So mentally, that's when I kind of put that forefront, like, hey, it's either all or nothing.
I like to put failure in quotations because I don't believe that failure is true failure if you're looking at it with the right mindset.
The truth is, the journey to greatness is hard. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes focus, and every day you have to decide what you value, what you want to pursue, and what you want to achieve. And if you dig deep enough, if you push hard enough, we all have what it takes to be great. Welcome to the Edge of Greatness.
Hello, good morning, and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Dose. It's Tuesday, March 14th, and I wonder how many of you out there have felt the struggles of daylight savings, because I know I have. And part of this is interesting because as I've gotten older, I notice it more. I think there's more things that affect how I respond and how I feel. You know, the kids didn't do very good because they don't look at the clock. They just get up and they do their thing based on how they feel. And so it's been an interesting couple days here to try to get myself back on track. But here I am. It's 5 a.m. I'm recording this episode, and I think that the important piece about dealing with this change and this struggle is the consistency you keep. Doing something all the time, no matter if it's easy or hard, is where we build that muscle that becomes our discipline. I listened to a really interesting podcast episode from a good friend of mine, Joe Ferraro. He talked about consistency over optimization. Right now, he's trying to get into an exercise routine, and it doesn't matter how much he's doing, what the program is, how intense or how crazy the exercise is. You know, I've had a lot of success as a trainer, and one of my biggest successes came from I told a guy to just show up to the gym every day. He had to check in 5 days a week at the front desk and walk through the door. That's it. He didn't even have to work out. So if he didn't feel like it, he didn't have to do anything. But the consistency of showing up turned into a habit of exercise. And I think that's a lot of times we get confused and we get uncomfortable with the thought of having to do the actual task, the difficult part, or have to do this extreme level of effort. And sure, eventually we have to do things that push us into that uncomfortable space, and we have to do the hard things to that level. But the first part is building that consistency muscle. Getting up at 5 a.m. is a consistency habit. It's not something I like to do. It's not something that I dream about. Oh, I can't wait to get up at 5 and start my day bright and early. I'm not exactly a morning person. I think I've mentioned that a few times on here. But the consistency makes it a lot easier. Because I show up every day, it's a lot simpler for me to hit the alarm clock, get out of bed, and go. And I've created that discipline. I've created that habit. It started small, and now I can do tasks that are much more challenging. So instead of trying to go for this grandiose thing every time you start to set a new target, start really small. Start super simple. What's the smallest task that you can do consistently well? Start there. If it is a weight loss or a exercise challenge, do what Joe's doing. Get up every morning and go down to his home gym and do something. If you don't have a home gym, get a membership, go to the door, check in 5 days a week. You may only work out 2 of them. That's fine. But you showed up 5. Create those consistency habits. If you want to become a writer, write every day. Just a few words. But get in the habit of sitting down to write. And that is where you're going to find the success. It's in the consistency. And then once you get really consistent, you can start to change it. Or as Joe says, optimize it. Add into it. Make it more challenging. Expand what you do consistent. You know, if I start with a writing routine of 100 words and I can do that every single day, maybe you up it to 2. Maybe you up it to 3. Maybe you keep it the same and you just say, all right, once I hit 100, I'm not even looking at the words. I'm just going to write. That's kind of where I'm at. I still keep the 100 words as my target, just so that way, even on the days that I don't want to write, I do something. But everybody's different. And that's where you have to kind of lean into who you are. Does the big number scare you? Or is that something that gets you excited and which makes you want to push a little bit more? But at the end of the day, the big thing, always do this, is find a way, especially early on, to do it daily. So whatever habit you're trying to create, whatever routine you're trying to change, whatever thing you're trying to adopt, can you do it every day? If the answer is no, the target's too big. What smaller thing within the bigger target can you do every day? And if you start to do things every day, and you do it no matter how you feel or what you're going through, you're building that discipline muscle. And then now, once you get a little bit further along, people look at you and go, man, you're so driven, you're so disciplined. How do you do it? And it all starts with super small, tiny tasks. I want to thank Joe for this episode because it gave me some ideas. I also want to thank Daylight Savings for making today extremely challenging. And I think that, kind of leads me into where we need to get to. We need to do the hard thing. We need to do it consistently well. But it starts with the small stuff. Hope this one helps you a little bit. Hope your week is not as tiring as mine. And as always, guys, keep reaching for the stars. Fall flat on your face, remember, whenever we fall, always get up.
Thank you for joining us today on the Edge of Greatness podcast. If you haven't yet, please take a minute now to subscribe and review our show. Join us again next week as we continue to dig deeper into the key components of greatness. The path to greatness is never linear, so remember to keep pursuing greatness no matter what. Keep stretching your abilities, reach for the stars, and fall flat on your face. But remember, no matter what happens, whenever we fall, always get up. Until next time, I'm Charles Schultz, and this was the Edge of Greatness podcast.